Welcome back. Well, accusations of corruption and rape would be enough to dash presidential hopes, but Jacob Zuma was still elected to head up the African National Congress on Tuesday. He now has his eyes on the presidency. South Africans on the streets gave us their thoughts.
He's one of the people that I do trust, for sure. You understand? It's not like it's a mistake, like some people say, like Helen Zille. I don't think so.
We haven't given him a chance. You know, we don't know what he's about, what his policy is about, and whatever. So I think give him a chance, see what he's all about, and you know, whatever is best for South Africa.
Well, maybe it's time for change. It can be good, it can be bad. We don't know.
Well, we return to our guests now. We're also joined now in Johannesburg by Patrick Craven, the spokesperson for the Congress of South African Trade Unions. Also in Johannesburg, David Monnier, an independent political analyst, and in London, Andrew Feinstein, an ANC member and former parliamentarian. If I could start with you, Patrick Craven, strong backing from the unions for Jacob Zuma. Is he going to be, are you, the unions, going to be expecting payback from him?
No, we certainly don't think in terms of payback. And it's important to point out that the president of the ANC doesn't create policy. The policy is actually being thrashed out by the National Conference this week. And tomorrow there will be an announcement on the outcome of that discussion.
But he has
got his key allies. Zuma has to work on.
Right, but he has got his key allies around him in the top jobs, hasn't he?
Yes, and we hope that he will take account of what the ANC delegates will tell him tomorrow. And Cosatu is very much sympathetic to the policies which were adopted at the ANC policy conference earlier this year, and which will probably form the basis of the policies to be decided this week. And that is partly why we believe that Jacob Zuma and the others have been so successful, that they represent a change in emphasis, not a fundamental change, but certainly a move towards policies which are closer to those of Cosatu and, we believe, the majority of the South African people.
So do you think that there'll be real change delivered for poorer South Africans who feel that they've been left out?
Well, that is what we will be demanding. And that is certainly what the ANC conference will be saying, that the present government keeps telling us how successful they have been at growing the economy. But for millions of South Africans, they have seen none of the benefits of this. We still have huge levels of unemployment, depending which statistics you use, anything between 25% and 40%. We still have appalling levels of poverty, and we're one of the most unequal societies in the world. And this is going to be the top priority for the new ANC leadership, and Cosatu will be giving them the fullest possible support through the structures of the alliance which we have with the ANC, and which we hope will be a much, much stronger body than it has been over the last few years.
If I could bring you back in, David Monnier, do you think that inequality would be improved under a Zuma leadership of the ANC?
I see a crisis that the future president, if it's Jacob Zuma, because there's an issue of overpromise, and I foresee under-delivery, given the demand from Cosatu and SACP to level the undercurrent economic policies. As he promised that he's not going to change policy, he's not going to deliver at the pace to close the gap between the have and have-nots. It will take time. I think it's the question of, it's good that democracy has been somehow strengthened by default, in my view. However, he's going to face a lot of challenge because there are a lot of constituencies that he's promising, but comes the State House, it will be really hard to deliver at the same time.
Andrew Feinstein, he was a provincial economics minister before. Does his record previously suggest that he could deliver this kind of change?
I mean, nothing in his record during his time as the economics minister in KwaZulu-Natal suggests that. What he did in that position was he interacted very successfully with the business community in the province. He said a lot of what they wanted to hear. But then it has to be stated that at a provincial level, especially around matters of economics and finance, one's influence and powers are very limited. So I don't think we can draw too much from that. I think from what Patrick has said and also what David has said now, there is no doubt that there are going to be pressures brought to bear on Jacob Zuma, even as ANC leader, even if he doesn't become the country's president, to push the ANC members in government towards slightly different policies. And I think the key balancing act that confronts the ANC and confronts South Africa is how one delivers social justice, how one delivers greater equality in a global economic environment that demands a conformism of economic thinking. And this is a very difficult balancing act. I don't think that Thabo Mbeki has got it right, and I'm not sure that Jacob Zuma or the ANC quite has the solution, but that is certainly the economic challenge that confronts them.
Patrick Craven, if I could bring you back in, what about the issue of AIDS? I mean, it's one of the ones that Jacob Zuma has said he would want to make a national emergency out of. How confident are you that he could tackle this in a different way and make a real difference on that?
I think that's one area where we can be reasonably confident, because we've already started moving in the right direction. After an earlier period where there was a scandalous lack of action on this. And what we need now from the new administration is just to push forward this national program more vigorously and to make sure it's implemented properly. But in relation to all these policies, I think we have to get away from the idea that we elect a president who will then deliver. There has to be a united national effort to bring about change, to bring about a better redistribution of wealth. And that is what I think has been lacking from the last administration. Too much has been top down. There hasn't been enough involvement of communities, of trade unions, and South African society as a whole. And that is what we hope to see over the next period. And we as COSATU will do everything we can to assist that process.
David Monnier, too much top down. What do you make of that idea?
I really disagree with the idea that is going to make a difference around the issue of HIV/AIDS. Perhaps at the level of, in terms of style, he might depart from President Mbeki, who had a crisis around the debate around what causes AIDS. And given Jacob Zuma's own issue of shower, I think there are high chances that he might try to change the image, his own image around the issue of HIV, and therefore speak freely on the issue of HIV. But when it comes to policy, there isn't much that is going to do, because the current government has already have a comprehensive policy and resources. The challenge for the government is the infrastructure, the lack of infrastructure in terms of to roll out. So that's one challenge that is going to confront.
Andrew Feinstein, if I bring you in after that, just the mention there of the word shower, just to bring viewers into what was being referred to there, was his reference to showering after having consensual sex, as he thought it was, with an accuser who was HIV positive. He was actually acquitted of rape charges on that issue, but the idea, he was ridiculed widely for suggesting that showering would prevent infection. Surely credibility matters with an issue like AIDS, HIV/AIDS, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But we are starting off a very low base here. I agree with the comments that Patrick made that progress has been made. But the biggest problem confronting South Africa in relation to the AIDS pandemic is that there has been ambivalence at the leadership level about the program and specifically about public education around HIV and AIDS. And here Thabo Mbeki and his health minister have been most at fault. So, in spite of his extremely unfortunate and ill-judged comments during his rape trial, where Jacob Zuma could make a difference is if he does exert pressure on President Mbeki to remove his health minister, who I believe remains an obstacle to dealing in a meaningful way with the challenges of AIDS. That's the first thing. And second of all, if he comes out and constantly restates certain key issues in relation to public education around HIV and AIDS, something that President Mbeki has failed to do. And by doing just those two things, he could make a big difference.
Patrick Craven, if I could just bring you back in briefly for the end of the show here. How likely is it, do you think, that he would be the man who will lead South Africa eventually? And does he have the right kind of personality to do so and to bring about real change?
Yes, I think he definitely should be the next president of South Africa, provided, of course, the ANC wins the election, which I'm confident they will. And we shouldn't overstress the importance of personality. The main thing is that he will be the leader of a party, the leader of a movement, which will have clear policies, different policies, which we think will be in the benefit of the majority of people, and that's what we must focus on. I
have to stop you there. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but thank you very much indeed, Patrick Craven, David Monnier, and Andrew Feinstein. Thank you all very much for sharing your thoughts with us. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We do welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to us, insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye for now.